arts branch coordinator for this year, and my job really is just to make this program a great experience for both the students and the mentors. We want it to be a mutually beneficial experience and to build a foundation for arts research and how students can get more involved with research. Let's see here. So I guess you can start off with this, yeah?
This is reading. Okay. All right, so undergraduate research opportunities. Okay, so we've got a quote up here. I probably wrote this at some point, maybe one of my friends did. Uro is an AMS club dedicated to raise awareness about research opportunities for students and facilitate the entrance of undergraduates into research. Yes, that's very much what we do. Essentially, most specifically for arts, as we discussed earlier, there seems to be a pretty big vertical leap up to that platform of RA-ship. There are lots of students, like we opened applications for this program for 1 week. Can anyone guess how many students signed up? How many students are interested in?
150.
You're all under 190. 190. Within 1 week, we closed down applications and started canceling our lectures. We're pretty sure that if we continued, we could probably pull as many as 200 to 300 students with what I'd call lazy advertisement. There is, the point I'm trying to make here is there's a clear passion within the undergraduate body to get involved in research and to work with research. They have passion, and this program is for free, by the way. Sorry, they're not being paid in any way, shape, or form. You guys do not have to pay them in any way, shape, or form. They're willing to put in the work for free. This is a population of passionate undergraduate students, and facilitating how we can take that passion and see its translation into research is something that we're interested in doing here. And that's kind of the purpose of our program, seeing how we can better connect to you guys with those passionate undergraduates.
So basically, our ultimate goal for this year is to encourage and support undergraduate students and increase their participation in the research community in art. I was talking earlier just that, the state of research in sciences is quite different from ours. I'll go back a little and give you a bit of background about Uro. Uro in the past, I guess started 6 years ago, but in the past,
I can handle this one.
But in the past, a lot of the students have been from the Faculty of Sciences. This year is actually our first year to launch a program that's specific for art students. And so this is really our pilot year, and we want to figure out, how we can better facilitate students into the research. We know that students are interested, but after talking to a lot of profs, we feel that what we're lacking is that invitation into research. Students want to do research, but they don't know how to get involved. So this is where we come in. We provide them with opportunities, and specifically through the REX Research Experience Program, by pairing them with a mentor, which are you guys, to create a research project together so that they can present at a conference later on. You want to add?
If you guys want to know the history of URO, basically we were started actually quite some time ago, something like 2000. I'm not sure exactly when the original URO started. It was originally a faculty department run by several profs. And what they would do is they were a centralized hub for undergraduate research. They started in science and branched out into arts and applied sciences, and even some of the more obscure areas, or not obscure, but some of the less well-known areas like medicine and pharmacy, in terms of actually getting students further involved in research. So we don't immediately think of those factors when we think of getting involved in research. But essentially what they did was they went across campus and they were one unified body. Well, one of the issues was their funding came from a central source, which a few years back, I'm not sure how many of you guys have followed, like the Senate debates and the UBC politics. No. Basically, UBC wanted to decentralize their funding, so the department, run by professors, lost a very large amount of their funding. They were very heartbroken about it, and because they lost a bunch of paid professionals that were required to keep this organization going, it just basically fell apart over the years. Students, once again, can't live without research to a certain degree, so they picked it up as an AMS club, which has become us. Their first year was roughly 5 years ago. They had a lot of troubles. I came in their second year, roughly. Me, Eric, a fellow named Duggan, and we did an amazing job. We brought this program to them, basically, Rex. And it was originally called SciCon because we started off in sciences, and it just exploded, basically. Like within our first couple of weeks, we got 200 science students registered, 50 mentors registered, and over the years, it's just expanded. At this year, we total at over, I'm not sure how many we have officially registered. We've got somewhere between 700 to 900 students from science, applied sciences, and arts. Roughly, we've got 200 from arts, so that can see the population. Like, there's not a huge discrepancy between science, applied sciences, and arts. Wherever you go, there's one thing that undergraduates want, and it's research. It's the ability to try out research. So, literally, in the undergraduate population, there's just such a demand for it that within 5 years, we've simply exploded in terms of a club. Like other clubs have asked me how they can see this kind of growth. I say you need to find something as needed within our population as undergraduate research. I don't mean to keep harping you guys on this, but students go to a university, and a good portion of them go to university because they are slightly interested in research. Or medical school or law school, but anyways, but there is a large portion that are interested in research. That's kind of the history of Rex. Do we want to hit the next slide, or what do we got up here?
So just to go over the side and going back on track a little, the Research Experience Program, the REX program, its goal is to invite students into the arts research community by fostering meaningful relationships between the students and mentors. Each mentor will be paired with the students, and then collaboratively they'll do a research project together.
To expand on it, sorry, I just want to expand on another point, is one thing that can happen, and a lot of you guys have said that it's one of the key factors in Prof's decision to take on a student, is whether or not they want to continue in research. Is that student going to stay with me for a while? Are they going to be productive? It comes down to how passionate is the student. And in science, this has actually been a huge barrier, because the barrier to research is a lot lower, so students will go into labs and they'll flake within 3 months, basically. If that happens in arts, I'm assuming your PIs are not happy if that kind of thing happens. So part of Rex is to provide what we call a free taste of research. It's a chance to try it out to see if they like it, so that when they're they're not halfway through an RA shit when they find out, I hate transcribing manuscripts, or I hate this, or I hate that. We want them to know whether or not they like research before they actually start working with actual PIs, actual investigators. So one thing I was going to say is, this is where I liken this to science. I'm not sure if you guys have such similar internships, but in science, a common thing is a summer internship, where an investigator will post research questions online, and then students will basically select research questions and apply to work on a particular research question. That kind of format is something that could be applicable if you guys think that, like, okay, instead of having the mentee come up with their own research question, you want to kind of give them a research question on your hands. This is what I'm talking about, like a Q&A session afterwards. I'm going to ask what your opinion kind of is on that format, basically. Because right now, there are many formats that this program could take. We're hoping to kind of have a bit of a focus group today almost on that too. Just to discuss what would be best, do you think, for your particular scenario or for arts in general. Other than that, the up to 3 students, the reason we say they're working on the same research project, so you don't have to have 3 different research projects. Some of our mentors you can, I guess. Some of our mentors have said, like, okay, my students want to work on 3 different projects, I'm cool with it. Remember, most of this program is up to you. If you're cool with them working on 3 different research projects, we're cool with it too. We're happy. Whatever makes you guys happy, pretty much. And the reason we put them in groups of 3 is, generally speaking, it's kind of scary to work alone, especially in a scenario like this. Do note, a decent number of your students could be scared. It's very common in this kind of a scenario. All right.
And also, I guess one more note to add on to the magic number of 3, it's adopted largely from the science program. And in the past, a lot of these science programs, when they do present at conferences, they do it as a group of 3. Whereas I can see that in the humanities, that would be a little bit more of a challenge. So therefore, we say up to 3, but depending on, the students or whatnot, we'll see how it goes, and then we'll try to cap it. So, I know Adam said that we have more than, I guess, 190 students interested, but we're not going to take them all. We can't. We don't have that capacity. So we're going to cap it off at max 60, and, we only have a couple spaces available. And with those students, sorry?
We're not going to be doing any selecting because we have no ability to select the students. We'll talk about this a little bit in terms
only
of
from discipline, as in if we have a visual art students, but we don't have a visual art mentor, we're not going to take them. That's what I meant by that. But yeah, and then you guys will pick. We'll let you know which students want to work with you, and then you guys get to pick your top 3 or whatever your discretion is.
Yeah. So essentially, how this works more or less is in about a couple of weeks they're going to be posting their bios, right? We're doing the bios.
Yeah.
So the traditional entrances into research are determined purely by GPA and research experience. So if we were to do this program and just judge them on GPA and research experience, I don't really feel like we'd be going anywhere per se. So what we want to do is, it's that passion that we're trying to uncover in the students. So essentially, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to ask you to write up what's called a mentor bio, or for Plastic Bank, project descriptions more. And what it is it's a summary of your field of research. Plastic Bank, just a summary of the project, basically, that they're going to venture into. If you guys want, you can just submit a research question in a field of research. That's also potentially okay if you feel that would be more appropriate. But the thing is, the students are then to delve into that. They're to delve into your little 300-word blurb about your research. In addition, you're also going to submit possibly 2 review papers to help them understand your field of research. And potentially, if this is applicable, your research group's website, or some kind of list of recent publications, basically. And the idea is, we want the students to be able to have the materials to learn more and to truly understand what your research is and what the state of research is in your field, because they're then going to try and communicate that back to you. You guys are going to get a list of students with blurbs about your research, and they're going to try and convey their understanding of your research, and based on that, that's how you're going to select from possibly 10, 20, probably 10. Usually it's like 5 to 10 students you get, so that's how you're going to select your top 3, basically, that you're going to work with. You're actually going to rank them all, and then we're going to mathematically determine, like, if you rank one and they rank you as this number, what's the mathematical equivalent that makes everyone the happiest, basically.
So some benefits to being a mentor. I know the mentorship program, the benefits for the student, it's very obvious. But for the, we want to make this program equally as beneficial and worthwhile for the mentors as well. So, some of the benefits includes giving back the support and inspiration you had received when you were in the undergraduate or professional career. To maintain a connection with UBC and the community, the research community here. To gain mentorship experience, an opportunity for you to reflect on your own experience in your research journey. And finally, and perhaps most importantly in my opinion, I think it's a genuinely rewarding experience to provide some sort of positive impact in the students' lives, and know that your work will change their lives really and help them get involved with research.
Mm-hmm. There are 2 other points that I'd add to that.
Yeah.
So we're going to go into this in a little more detail later on. We are actually organizing 2 university class mentorship workshops. So if you're joining Tri-Mentorship or any of those like heavy mentorship workshops, you're going to get the same experience as you would at a world-class university's mentorship workshop. So like, we're literally organizing it through UBC, basically. It's highly funded and very well done. So that's one benefit. We'll go into that a lot more later on. The second benefit, I'd say, is you guys are, this is not the last time anyone in this room or in the Department of Arts will be hearing about Rex or Euro. You guys in this room, you're literally going to be paving the way for research in arts, pretty much. Like, the people, like right now in our infancy, you guys will be kind of designing and hopefully interacting with us. Maybe you won't email us back ever again, but hopefully you'll interact with us saying like, listen, Adam, this is not working out. We have to make these changes for this specific scenario. And I'll likely say, all right, sure, sounds good. How do you want us to make those changes? So the things that you'll be crafting are going to change the university for years to come. And they will play a huge role in guiding the direction of, to a certain degree, how undergraduate research interacts with the professors of this university to a very large degree. Like, we've submitted, we are active in the university. We are active at a very central point. We have lots of meetings with different deans around the university. We interact with the Senate. So the stuff, what we're learning from this kind of test run year will very much impact the university in ways that perhaps we can't even fathom. But hopefully they'll all be good. Yeah, but this is going to be a very interesting experience. All right, I think that's...
Yeah, that's really well said. So in terms of the expectations and the type of commitment, we expect at least 4 hours per month to build the mentoring relationships with the students. Also at the first conversation, after your student initiate contact with you guys and you guys get to sit down and meet, set expectations for how you guys are going to communicate and how often or which method, will it be through email, through phone, Skype, whatever works for you guys. Help student identify and set goals, and these goals can change throughout the way, right? And there might be reassessment that might be needed, but to help students set goals, support them, be a good role model for them in terms of professional etiquettes and whatnot, and respond to all communications in a timely manner.
How much do art students procrastinate? This is just a general question. It's like, from a science to applied sciences, like if you look at the procrastination curve, there's like, on a 1 to 100 scale, you got like science at about 50, 70%, then you got applied science more at your 70, 80%. So I'm just wondering where you think art students fit on that, because...
Percent of time or percent of people?
Percent of procrastination time, I'd say.
Out of how much?
On average, because like...
On a day or
it's like,
a week or like...
The standard thing that I say to applied sciences students is like, listen, I know we say you're going to spend around probably 4 hours a week working on your Rex projects, but let's be frank, that's not going to happen. You're going to spend 20 hours before the abstract deadline and then another 20 to 30 hours before the poster deadline doing your project. I just want to know if the same, usually for sciences we break it up into like bursts of 10 hours. Not so much a 20 to 30 hour burst. So I'm just asking, what do you guys expect out of art students, given that some of us were art students at one point, some of us still are art students, I guess. I'm not an art student, so what do you guys think in terms of procrastination? What's a reasonable expectation? Like, do you expect your students to put in a solid 4 hours every week into a project if they're told that's what they should do, or else they'll likely pull their hair out at the very end?
It depends how the mentor is going to check on it. Like, I used to teach a class, language class, and I realized that if I give my students a test every week, which I don't have to, like nobody did that, but I decided to do an experiment. And so I would give my students every week like words quiz, right? If anyone here took a language test, they know, right? 20 words you have to memorize, and then eventually you'll read that in the final exam, right? They did. So I assume they did work. It was how many hours it took them to memorize, so.
Okay, you guys sound better than science students, but we'll still procrastinate that.
So, I mean, it depends on the project, and because we do a lot of reading and writing, if you know you're a slow reader, procrastination is basically going to kill you. You're going to spend weeks sleepless trying to get the reading done.
You'd be surprised how often that does
I
that.
don't necessarily think that stops anybody from progressing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, I mean, you'll pay for it eventually, so
All right.
you have
So,
to figure it out.
it sounds like art students aren't going to procrastinate as much as science or applied science students will, so that's good. So you guys can expect a decent 4 hours every week, maybe more 8 hours every 2 weeks out of your students, which is good, I hope they do stay on time.
One good thing is though, meeting all the students we have, they're all very eager and keen students. So I guess that's another benefit too. You know, you're meeting the right students who want, we tell them, we like to scare them off, tell them that it's going to be a lot of work, it's a lot of commitment, and we want to keep the ones who are truly, you know, willing to commit to this and take the amount of work that we, you know, yeah.
Oh no, I assure you, every student who's gone through this program has received at least one threat from me that they will fail this program and not be able to handle it. That's actually something we implemented 2 years ago, and it's been highly effective. It's been highly effective, but yeah, no, our students know this is a difficult program.
But yeah, and also if there's anything, you know, that comes up in the mentorship relationship, you know, always feel free to shoot us an email at arts.uro.ubc.ca. So with the matchup, you're expected to submit your profiles by Friday, October the 24th. Students will select their top 3 mentors by Friday, October the 31st. And then you will then respond to that. You'll have about a week to respond and select your top students. And then we'll announce the results in November, early November. And yeah, this is the training that Adam was talking to you about. That's provided, funded by UBC for mentorship if you guys are interested.
There will be free food.
Yeah, do you want to elaborate more on that then?
All right, so I believe they're sandwiches. They'll be arriving approximately. So essentially, this is something that comes from the UBC community of practices. Euro and Rex are invited to sit on a mentorship panel at UBC. And basically what we do is we develop practical workshops for you guys. I believe this one is more on basically it's more of an introduction to your mentorship role, some skills. We've only got about an hour and a half, so it's going to be food, some skills, some understanding what to do in these circumstances here and there. It's going to be very valuable. Like, there's a large number of our execs that actually want to attend this because it's unfortunately at the same time as our meeting time. But like our execs probably will be going to this too. It's a very valuable workshop. After that, we've got our, I should give you the time. It's going to be on the 16th of October, or from 6 to 7:30 p.m. You do need to RSVP. So have we sent them the link to
I'm
that?
going to send a follow-up email to you guys after maybe by this weekend with all the details and information with training. There's also going to be a mentorship manual that we've created that basically lists out in more detail what we have the slides. We'll have a slide in there as well. But yeah, you guys can expect an email. Don't need to write anything down.
And you're providing the form for the mentorship application, right? Like
The profile.
Just stuff, yeah, the profile.
No, we're not providing. We're providing the file for you to fill out.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yes.
That's
Yes,
what
we
I'm
are.
talking about. It's not just like everybody writes whatever they think is useful, or are you giving it kind of a guideline?
There's a form. There's a form
Yep.
that you guys will have to fill
Yeah, that's
out.
But basically, I can tell you that right now, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be your name, maybe your email, likely your department and faculty, of course. But one thing is, the important part is it's gonna be a 300-word description of your research. That we don't count it, but try not to give us 1,000 words, please. Anyways, also students are less likely to read 1,000. Actually, no, there's a high enough student to mentor ratio. They'll read it. Never mind. They'll read it. But try not to give us 1,000 words. What's it called? There's also a spot for 2 review papers, citations. We do have copyright issues, so try not to give us the actual review paper unless it's freely available. But give us a citation for 2 review papers and a link to your lab's website. I said lab again, I'm not supposed to do that. A link to your research group's website. If that's not applicable and you don't think it would be as useful, you can provide us with a link to several publications or something like that. We can be more flexible. That's all of that. All right. Other than that, yes, you need to RSVP for this workshop. It's very useful. You'll be accompanying our 150 other mentors. In addition to that, you'll also be accompanied by, I think, like another 100 to 300 tri-mentorship mentors, and there are a couple other mentorship programs kind of kicking around. I think we're the two largest right now, is Rex and tri-mentorship. All right, next one, which is
another workshop, yeah.
Once again, this is just more in-depth about, this is more professional development, if I remember. So it's more, how do you gain from the mentee-mentor relationship? One thing is you attend a world-class workshop. Now that's one positive thing. But also, how can you develop as an individual, as a mentor? Basically, this is very much pro-D, professional development. Let's see what's written on the slide. Yeah, basically, how to make yourself a better mentor, and to a certain degree, like, I know it sounds easy, but mentorship can actually be a very difficult thing because there's concepts, I've attended several workshops on it, there's concepts of leadership, community, how to create a family-like environment. It can be a very complex thing if you really break it out, and to find really, really good mentor, like mentorship is actually a very strong skill. Not sure how much in the arts, but definitely in the sciences, because what separates a top-notch PI from someone who's not as good is how well they can train their graduate students. The perfect PI could take, say, a first year and train them to produce research at the level of postdoctoral fellow, basically. Theoretically, the perfect PI, the perfect mentor would be able to do that. So if you're a graduate student now, being able to hone your mentorship skills, being able to take a first year, like many of you might have, and get them to produce research at the level of postdoctoral fellow, is that even possible? Would be amazing. But mentorship is a big thing in being able to actually train graduate students, not so much undergrads in the Faculty of Arts right now. Hopefully in a few years it will be undergrads, but being able to train individuals and make them experts in your field and produce work, produce literature, is something that is very much looked for in the future. And I think it's looked for in graduate scholarships in the Faculty of Arts. Is that true? Is mentorship a big thing?
Yeah, it is. We have the arts mentorship programs.
No, is it like in terms of scholarships? So like, I don't know what the funding is in arts, but like big parts of like the Canadian Council of Research scholarships, CIHR NSERC awards in science. Mentorship is pretty big, but how's it for arts?
Sure. It's kind of what you make it really. It's at this level, being able to prove that you're a mentor isn't that important. Once you're a prof or looking to become, tenure track or something, and you're applying for those sorts of grants, then it's a big deal.
Okay, so it's further down the line still, but still the earlier you start on mentorship, it's not an easy thing. The earlier, gosh, I know, but the earlier you start on mentorship, sometimes the better. And we are providing 2 university class workshops, and we'll probably be providing more actually as like January and February hit. I think we might do 2 more, but it depends. I need to talk to the committee about it, see what they're planning, basically. All right.
Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up our orientation today. So I guess the next step, you'll receive a follow-up email from us inside detailing basically everything you need to know. And then you guys have your mentor bios filled up by October 22nd. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. Thank you so much for making your time to come here today. I know 5:30, it's, you guys can be home, doing something you guys like. But thank you for making the time to come here. It's really nice for me to see you guys. And I'm really excited and looking forward to working with you guys.
All right. So I guess we'll just open this up to any general Q&A, and I wouldn't mind talking with you guys a little bit afterwards. Yeah.
So with the research project, are you expecting them to have, figure out a project, collect the data, analyze the data, and write it up within like that 3-month period?
What department are you in?
Psychology. So usually
Possibly, yes.
So I run studies to get that have like 200 to 500 participants that usually take a year to collect the data.
No.
So I'm not entirely sure what to do about that.
It depends on the project. In Rex, one of the things we try to do, one thing we try and do a lot of, is encourage students to design more bigger projects, because it's true, you could design something that could be done in 3-4 months, but that would be a pretty small scale study, and it wouldn't be, it's not the level that we want students thinking at. We want students to be able to experience kind of what it would be like to be a graduate student or an RA, basically, and a graduate student wouldn't be designing a 3-month study per se, they'd be designing something larger. And to be able to get our students to think on that larger scale and plan for something larger is more what we value in Rex, but ultimately it is up to you and your students. If you have like a small research project kicking around that you really think the students would benefit from, and your students are keen to do it in 3 months, all means go ahead. But generally the standard is we'd want them to do something a little bit bigger, like design like a survey that would take a year or so, perhaps, to collect with, like you said, around 500 participants or something like that. Something that realistically could be published if it were actually done. But we prefer a large proposal over a short project, per se. In psychology specifically, sociology to a certain degree.
And alternatively, you guys can create a theoretical research project. And with the MERC, I know for their poster segment, they also accept proposals with predicted results and data. So you don't have to feel the pressure of actually, conducting the research. I know it's hard to find the resource at the time. So
I know. To clarify, our students know very well that they may not do any data collection whatsoever, and that is the norm to a certain degree. So, and we do encourage, when we say theoretical, we just mean no data. Everything else, just no data, basically. That's essentially how it works, specifically for arts and sociology.
So you mentioned the proposal and the papers, and I'm a bit confused because how it works in my field with literature, right? So we're writing proposals about the paper we're going to write, and then the paper is the project, right? There's no data at all, it's pure theory.
Yes.
Basically.
What's your department?
CNIS, Central European Modern, Central and Eastern European.
Like I said, what I just said pertains to psychology and sociology. For Central and Northeastern European studies, it's different. Same thing for English, is the data portion isn't.
No, but my question is a bit about something else. So
yeah, the proposal and then
the first was
yeah.
the proposal, right? The proposal deadline for, let's say, the paper in my field, right? And then the student is expected to actually write this paper, right, in form of this project, or is it just the proposal? How does that work?
Students, right now, the strongest track that we have developed is to write basically a proposal type paper for a conference. So, sorry, proposal type poster for a conference. We're developing a second track right now, which we should be able to give you more details about what just happened.
I will go to Drive. I'll show you guys an example of the type of poster project.
Because we also rarely have posters, right?
Yes. So one thing we're developing right now is a track is a circle track, basically. So where they submit to an undergraduate journal, such as Circle. We're also collaborating with various undergraduate groups, such as I believe the Political Sciences Journal for undergrads, and what are they called? The Philosophy Journal we're also collaborating with for undergraduates, and there's some other undergraduate journals around. So essentially what will happen is probably around January we'll have finally compiled our list of collaborators. Right now Circle is our largest, and basically you guys will submit to said journals, they'll evaluate it. Some papers will be accepted, some papers won't be, but the idea is that the research, hopefully by the end of Rex, will be at the kind of quality to be able to submit to Circle and be accepted within a reasonable undergraduate journal, basically. And that's an exciting field we're very happy to start developing. The issue that I would pose to you guys is there are some students who are going to apply for Central, Northeastern, and European studies.
Central, Eastern,
Eastern sense.
Yes.
SENS, can I call it SENS? Someone would apply for a SENS project. If they're, say, a philosophy major, they're not going
that actually would work. philosophy was
Okay, let me pick something a
I feel
little
like
more
humanities and
outlandish.
It's
social
only social
sciences are a
science.
bigger split than
Exactly.
within social sciences we're more alike than
Yeah,
humanities and saying over there.
absolutely.
It's
A
kind of like
French
working
major,
data
how
or
about
not.
Yeah.
Anything with languages, anything with philosophy, anything with
Psych
like
student.
where there's
I'm trying to find something outlandish, but say something that's far away from me.
sociology and psychology is definitely very different. So I wouldn't just feel comfortable having this responsibility because I have never done psychological research myself.
Oh, no,
You know, like this.
That,
But then, otherwise, with philosophy, it is a very similar concept, right? It is also very theoretical based, so there I would feel comfortable because literature goes hand in hand.
one thing I do want to clarify with you is if you get an English major, a psych major, and what's something far away from that?
Anthropology.
And an anthropology major. You're not going to make some kind of English psych anthro project. They are applying to work in your field of research. Whatever they were beforehand is considered to be, that was their past. They're interested in working on your research
It's sad. They might conduct their own projects, and then we're
in your field. So the idea is to create a research project. However, we've told them that you're to pick a mentor you're interested in. And they're picking and when I say that, they're picking a research field they're interested in doing a project within, basically. This would be so much more logistically difficult to do if we had to like mix all the different fields of research. But they're picking a field of research that you're comfortable with mentoring. So lots of mentors have said, can I mentor a different field of research? Like say you wanted to mentor a psych project or something like that, we'd say as long as you feel comfortable mentoring within that field, we are fine, basically.
But then that doesn't matter which field they come from. Then they
Yeah,
come
no,
from like
that's-
medical science or something. What does that matter then?
That's why we're saying, do you guys honestly care about which departments they're coming from? If you guys, so I think we'll provide you with their departments as kind of a compromise, because I'm hearing a bit of variation in the room. We'll provide you with their departments. If you want to filter based on it, then that's your call. We won't do any pre-filtering in that.
No, sorry, there's two questions.
Yeah, mine is, well, I'm in the other side because my department I'm at the School of Community and Regional Planning and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
only a graduate school.
Mm.
So for instance, in my case, there's no way anyone from my department would apply because we have no undergrads.
Yeah,
But I would be willing to mentor people who might be somehow close to the area
Yeah.
I'm researching.
yeah.
Would that work?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Do you have
So
a
I just want to know, like, the undergrads, are they just from a common pool? Is it science and arts?
You'll get
No,
Any of-
we're
well,
kind of dividing it. Like we have the 190 plus students interested, and so far we're gonna cap it off to 60 art students who are interested. They are from arts. And with this though, I know, but from talking and interacting with a lot of art students, that's one of the concerns they have too. And I don't anticipate an English student applying for a psychology mentor. You know, it just doesn't motivate them that way. If they're really interested in the topic, which is where plastic bank or the Aboriginal studies might come in, they go like, oh yeah, you know, that's something interesting, somewhat close that I can conduct something research in that field or with this mentor. But if it's something totally off, I don't think they would want to apply for that anyway. So you know, but I would include their discipline in that because I think it's a useful piece of information for you guys to consider. Yeah.
So I'm just asking from the point of view in terms of when we're creating our bio. Like I'm from a very interdisciplinary background. I'm a marine ecologist by training, now I'm venturing into social sciences. So extremely sciencey, now social science.
lay. Lay. That's literally what we said. Your bio should be lay. So a lay bio, something to the general public,
Right.
basically. It should summarize your field of research as much to the degree as you can. We've got lots of kind of multidisciplinary projects. Like for example, my project is kind of a virology / human genetics / aging medicine project basically. And I just describe it literally in its entirety. We look at this from this to this and we accumulate these variables and try and get a measure on human aging basically. Like that would be my I'd say like We look at your mitochondrial DNA, what damages your mitochondrial DNA, and how certain viral infections damage your mitochondrial DNA to result in accelerated aging, for example. That's the field of my expertise, for example, basically. So try and, you guys are art students, communicating your research is not like a huge part of your degree or something like that. But try and communicate it basically to a lay audience. You may get science students applying. That is one thing I do want to say. Generally speaking, though, there should be a reason they're applying to arts mentors. We haven't put that restriction on because we do want to keep it to passion. And there may be the odd science student who actually is interested in maybe studying poli-sci or something like that. More commonly, psychology.
I have RAs right now that are science students.
Yeah, no, it's, don't be, like, we're not discriminating, so to speak, as much, but we're not discriminating as much based on faculty. It's more, we're trying to get that passion, because if someone truly wants to study something in arts or truly wants to study something in science, we don't feel like we have the data yet to limit them on that.
Yeah, I think our time is pretty. If you guys have any more questions, you guys can come and talk to us afterwards individually or email us. But thank you so much for coming and making your time. And yeah, you guys can expect a follow-up email. And if you guys have any questions, yeah, just feel free to